Hello viewer, welcome to my class. This is Murshid Ali, Assistant Teacher English Open TNB David Karigaon Shafia. Today I am here to share you some important ideas about the primary knowledge of voice sense. About the primary knowledge of voice sense. So now, no waste of time, let us get started. So my dear friend or my dear students, as time is not wasted, so I have written before the class on the whiteboard something that you have to follow carefully. Here I have to say something about yourself that attention is very important to understand anything, to understand any topic of the class. So keep attention or pay heed to my class to understand it. I think it is a very simple class. It is a very simple class. There is no class from 6 to 11, but there is no reference of voices. That means from 6 to 11 in our syllabus, this voices is included. So we have to practice or we have to learn about voices. It is very must. It is must. So now come to the point. Let us see on the whiteboard. At the very beginning, I have written about topic primary knowledge of voices. Primary knowledge of voices. Most of the students are unaware about the use of voices. So I have written here about primary knowledge. That means initial. That means beginning knowledge. So we are entering into the class. Please attention. Okay, now at the very outset of the class, we have to know about the definition of voices. Then, what is voice? What is voice? If we follow the whiteboard, we see that the form of verb which simply work on subject or object of the sentence is called voice. It's called voice. But what is voice sense? Now this is our question. What is voice sense? Voice sense is a kind of transformation of sentence. What is? Voice sense is a kind of transformation of sentence. In our syllabus, we will find it in the name of voices. In the name of voices. These voices may be active voice and passive voice. Active voice and passive voice. These are classification of the voices. So now, my dear learner, we have already learned about the voice and voices. The difference, the different from about voice and voices. So now we are entering into the about the classification of voices. We know that in a simple sense we can say that there are two types of voice. One is active voice, another is passive voice. One is active voice, another is passive voice. These are very simple and general. So now, what is active voice? What is active voice? This is our question. At the same time, I am trying to answer all this question. The sentence was subject word. The sentence was subject word. If you follow on the whiteboard, the sentence was subject was being active, being strong, being powerful is called active voice. It's called active voice. If we follow the example, we see that Kamal Bhai plays cricket. Kamal Bhai plays cricket. Here, we find subject Kamal Bhai at the very beginning of the sentence of active voice. So, Kamal Bhai here subject plays verb and cricket object. So my dear students, welcome back or welcome once again. I was in the form of example of active voice. In the example we see that Kamal Bhai plays cricket. I told you before. Okay, now Kamal Bhai here is subject and it has used at the very beginning of the subject. And Kamal Bhai is here the most powerful person to complete a sentence. He performed the action of the sentence. So we can clearly say that in active voice the subject is more powerful. The subject is more strong. The subject is more strong. Okay, now then we have to follow, or we can follow passive voice. Before entering into the detailed description, we have to know what is passive voice. That is the definition of passive voice. Okay, the sentence was subject was. The sentence was subject was. Being inactive. Being inactive. It's called passive voice. It's called passive voice. Okay, now if we try to find out the example, we'll see that cricket is spelled by Kamal Bhai. Cricket is spelled by Kamal Bhai. Here we see that Kamal Bhai has used at the last part of the sentence as an object. As an object. In our example of active voice, we saw that Kamal Bhai have been used at the very beginning, but in passive voice, it has used at the last part or the last section of the sentence. So, in active voice, it is used as subject, but in passive voice, it is used as object. So, it will depend on use of voice. So now, here if we follow carefully, we find that Kamal Bhai is not more powerful, more strong, more active here. More active here. So, we see that Kamal Bhai have been used at the last part of the sentence, and cricket has been used at the very beginning of the sentence. Cricket is the main subject here. He is playing important role to make this sentence here. Okay. So, dear learner, already we have learned what is active voice, what is passive voice. At the same time, we have seen about their example and about their short description. Now, another point, to change voice, if we want to change voice from active to passive, we have to follow some rules and regulation. We have to follow some rules and regulation. Without rules and regulation, no voice can be changed from active to passive. That's why we have to follow some rules and regulations to make any sentence from active to passive. From active to passive, step by steps or by turns, we will learn everything. But today, we will discuss only short terms, only short points about it. In my another class, I will discuss it in detail. So now, come to the point. To change voice, we have to know about subject and object. To change voice, we have to know about subjective form and objective form. Okay, I have written subject and object. If we find in active voice, subject I, and it will be used in passive voice as me. That means at the very beginning of the sentence, we used I of active voice, but if we use I in passive voice as object, we have to use me. Okay, then similarly, there is we, and its objective form is us. Its objective form is us. So, in active voice, we will use we, and in passive voice, we will use us. We will use us. So now, next you. You is a type of word that subjective form and objective forms are same. The same. Okay, now, you is a subjective form, at the same time, you is objective form. Then it is a subject, it is a object. Okay, then we find third person. He, she, they, Harun. These are third person. How can we change or what will be the objective form of them? We are going to learn it. We are going to know it now. He. This is subjective form. And its objective form is him. He is used generally in active voice and in passive voice him is used. Him is used. Then she. She is used generally for female. For female. Okay, now if we find she in active voice and if we want to turn this active voice into passive voice, then we have to use objective case of she. Then we have to use or we must use her. We must use her. Here, this is the point to be noted that she and her is used for female. For female. And on the other hand, or in contrary, he is used or him is used in favor of or for male. For male. Okay, now come to the point. Then they. They is a word which is used as a plural third person. As a third person, but plural number. So now, if we find in active voice, they, and if we turn this voice into passive voice, then we have to use them as an objective form. Then we find that Harun. In our active voice or passive voice, we can find the name of any name. The name of any man. Harun, Hassan, Kobir, etc. These are the name. And this is third person singular number. And if we find in our voices, and this Harun is used as subject and it will be used as object. That means it will not sense. It variation. It will be not verified or it will not be sensed. So now, dear learner, you have seen many things, and I have tried to tell you something about primary ideas of voice sense. So I think that you have learned more and more if you practice again and again. That means practice makes the man perfect. So you have to always remember that you have to practice. Otherwise, you will not learn it. Albert Tennyson said that struggle is life, life is struggle. Struggle is life, life is struggle. So to be a stakeholder of knowledge of voice sense, you have to also struggle. Otherwise, you will not learn it. You can or you may pass in the exam, but it is very difficult to be a stakeholder of knowledge of English. So to be a stakeholder of knowledge of English, you have to must work hard. Otherwise, you cannot dream to learn English. So, dear friend, see you again in the next class. No more today. Until then, keep well.